In a small town of Oba, there lives a young girl named Olanna. She is beautiful with bright, glowing skin. Her family is poor, but her dreams were big. Her father is a retired police officer with no pension or gratuity, and so he started a small poultry business to be able to cater for his 6 children. Olanna is the second born and first daughter of the family. She longed to go to the university to become a lawyer and make a better life for herself and her family. But after managing to graduate secondary school, her father could no longer afford to train her through the university. He pressured her to quickly get married, specifically to a rich man, so that she can assist him in raising her other 4 younger siblings. But after what seemed like a dream cut short, Olanna started learning how to braid hair in one of the local salons around the area. Soon afterwards, she met Chike, a hard-working mechanic whose workshop is a few houses away from the salon where she goes for her apprenticeship. Chike is handsome, but also a stark illiterate. He had never been in a classroom for one day of his life. He lived a rough and hard life from a young age till now. Chike fell in love with Olanna from the first day he set eyes on her. He told his colleagues at the mechanic workshop that he had seen his wife. Olanna also noticed Chike, and she kind of liked him. He was idiotic and funny, but also very kind and generous. He would wait for her at the junction every morning so that they could walk down to the street where the salon and mechanic are situated. He would buy her lunch occasionally and even wait to walk her back home when she closes from the salon. Olanna started getting more and more attracted to the good heart of Chike, but there was a part of him she didn't quite like, and that is the fact that he wears his dirty mechanic apron around town with no care in the world. Olanna would often ask him to remove the apron and wash up before coming to see her. But baby, how will people know my handiwork if I remove this coat? I need to be proud of my handwork, Chike would respond while laughing hysterically. Olanna got tired of telling him to always wash up and just gave up. One day, while they were having an intimate discussion, Chike asked Olanna a very important question. Baby, I love you so much and I want to marry you. Olanna was startled. She had never thought about settling down, and especially with him, she still had dreams of going back to school one day. And so she responded, I like you, Chike, but I would love to go back to school and become a lawyer. That has always been my dream. Bam! Chike exclaimed. Now you are talking, my love. I want you to become a lawyer too. And me, the husband of a lawyer, Chike said, while smiling from ear to ear. I don't think I understand what you're saying, Chike, Olanna responded. Baby, all I'm saying is, I, Chike, will train you through school to become a lawyer. I will work harder than ever to see you through. And after you graduate, we can do our wedding. And I will first of all pay your bride price to your father to know I am serious, Chike replied. Olanna was dumbfounded by Chike's words and promises. She hugged him excitedly and hurriedly agreed to become his wife. She felt his kindness and dedication, and that was all that mattered to her at that point. Olanna informed her father about Chike, and he made arrangements with his kinsmen on the day the bride price would be paid. Olanna actively started attending extramural lessons to take an entrance exam into the university. And after 3 months, everything worked out as planned. she got admission into the university to study law, and she was engaged to one of the kindest men she had ever met. Her life was filled with so much hope, and she had her fiancé by her side. On the day she was to move to her school, Chike accompanied her to the car park and bid her farewell. Chike toiled day and night and even opened his own mechanic shop to have more gains and customers to be able to afford Olanna's education and living expenses. 1 year passed and Olanna excelled in her studies, quickly becoming one of the top students in her class. But as she spent more time in the city, surrounded by new friends and classmates, many of whom were rich, well-dressed, and came from prominent families, Olanna began to feel embarrassed about her roots. She became close to two girls in her hostel named Fumi and Amanda. They were both linguistic students and have been friends from secondary school, but they welcomed Olanna into their friendship circle without hesitation. Fumi and Amanda are one of the hottest girls in their hostel, always dressed in the finest clothes and handbags. Schoolboys would line up downstairs, waiting for them to pass by, but they never paid them any attention. Olanna felt very out of place with both of them, but they liked her and always wanted to hang out with her. Whenever they are gathered at night in their hostel to gist, Fumi and Amanda often talked about traveling abroad, driving expensive cars, and living glamorous lives. They spoke of dating successful men, businessmen, politicians, and celebrities. People who could take them to luxurious places and buy them anything they want. One evening, as she was hanging out with her friends at a fancy restaurant, Amanda asked about her relationship. "So, Olanna, who is this lucky guy that have given you a ring? Is he rich? Does he have a fancy car?" They teased, laughing over their glasses of wine. Olanna hesitated, embarrassed to admit the truth. He's from my village and he's doing okay, I think." "This your response is not clear. Okay, what does he do for a living?" Fumi asked. He is a mechanic. In fact, he owns his own mechanic workshop," Olanna replied while stuttering. Fumi and Amanda burst into laughter. "You mean a pretty smart girl like you will graduate as a lawyer and go back to the village to settle with a mechanic? So how will you see cases to solve from there?" They both teased while still laughing at her. Olanna was ashamed. They somehow have a point, she thought to herself. But her fiancé is the reason she's here in the first place. "Anyways, why don't you come out with us tonight? We will show you the real world," Amanda said, poking her. "I'll give you one of my hot dresses and I'll do your makeup as well. You will see a beautiful side of you have never seen before," Fumi chipped in. Olanna shrugged her shoulder and out of curiosity agreed. That night, they dressed up so beautifully and a car came to pick them up from the hostel. They arrived at a big mansion in the heart of the city. The party was filled with older men with pot bellies and grey beards, dressed in kaftan and agbada. "But why are these men so old looking?" Olanna asked naively. "These old men are the ones that will change your life, my dear. Watch and learn," Amanda replied her as she was whisked away by one of the men into the dance floor. Olanna stayed in a corner feeling very uncomfortable as she observed the room. An old, handsome-looking man walked right up to her and asked her for a dance. She tried to resist, but Funmi nudged her from the corner. The man, Chief Abba, is a prominent politician and businessman. As the night progressed, Olanna realized that some of the girls in the party and some men are no longer in the large open space where they were dancing and catching up. Funmi and Amanda were also nowhere to be found. She tried to call their number, but it wasn't reachable. Chief Abba asked Olanna to follow him to a room upstairs, and she immediately declined, stating that she has to go back to her hostel. Chief immediately realized she was a first-timer, and so he did something that he felt could lure her back in. Chief Abba reached into his trouser pocket and brought out a bundle of money. "You can take this for your transport," he said, as he handed the wad of cash over to Olanna. In all her life, she had never seen anything like that. She opened her mouth so wide in disbelief. "No, sir, I can't take this so," she whispered in shock. "Yes, you can. This is just the tip of an iceberg of what I can do for you, my dear," Chief Abba said as he forced the money into her hand. He asked his driver to drop Olanna off at school, and they hugged goodbye. Olanna told Funmi and Amanda about the chief's generosity, and they encouraged her to not fumble the relationship. After a few days, Chief Abba invited Olanna out for an event. She arrived looking so beautiful. Chief offered her a glass of wine after another, and that was the last thing she remembered. The next morning, she found herself naked in bed with a bundle of money on the bedside drawer. She wept bitterly and complained to her friend that it seemed she had been raped. Funmi laughed and told her that Chief Abba specifically likes sleeping with women when they are unconscious. "But I didn't give consent," Olanna cried. "But you got 500,000 naira compensation," Funmi replied, downplaying her concerns. Olanna stayed in bed all day, crying and feeling bad about the whole incident. But the money was tempting. Olanna managed to revamp her wardrobe, beautified her room, bought some good wigs, and paid off for some textbooks she didn't have. She even sent 200,000 naira home to her father, and he was overjoyed. Her life had somehow changed, and she liked this new life. Chief Abba called her out mostly weekends, and she would go, prepared to be violated without her consent. And by morning, she would find bundles of cash for her upkeep. With time, Olanna became accustomed to her new reality and began to feel ashamed of Chike, the humble village man who had sacrificed everything for her. He was an illiterate, simple, and nothing like the wealthy, sophisticated man in her life. Weeks turned into months, and Olanna started pulling away from Chike. She stopped returning his calls, using the excuse of her busy school life. Her friends introduced her to more rich men from the city, and she became swept up in a world of parties, expensive gifts, and promises of a life far removed from the simplicity of her village upbringing. Chike's simple love no longer seemed enough for her. Chike noticed Olanna's change of attitude and decided to pay her a visit in her school to surprise her and also make up for whatever the issue may be. He arrived at Olanna's hostel wearing a ruffled shirt and pants, mostly stained with car engine oil. His sandals were old and worn out, and his ashy feet were out for everyone to see. I am looking for Olanna, the most beautiful girl in this hostel. Tell her that her husband is here, Chike requested of a student he found at the entrance of the hostel. You mean the hot Olanna is married to you? Are you a joker? The girl asked as she burst into laughter. Well, I'd like to see how this drama ends, she said as she ran into the hostel, calling the other girls to come witness a remarkable event. Olanna came downstairs looking all different. Her wig was long and luxurious. She was wearing a bomb short, almost exposing her butt cheeks, with a crop top. Chike's eyes widened in disbelief at the sight of his once innocent-looking fiancé. Yes, who are you? Olanna asked with a straight face. By this time, all the other girls have surrounded them, awaiting the drama and possible humiliation. Haba, my love, how can you ask me that kind of question? It is me, your husband. You have not been replying my call, and I decided to surprise you. I even brought your favorite gale and oha soup that I made with my 2 hands. Chike replied, pointing at the polythene bag beside him. Me, Ola, married to a pauper like you. When and how? My friend, if you don't get out of this place, I will call the hostel security and tell them you are a madman, and they will handle you as such. She reached into her pocket and brought out 50,000 naira. She squeezed it into his hands and catwalked upstairs to her room. Chike was shocked to his bones. He had never been this embarrassed in his entire life. Hot tears ran down his cheeks, and the hostel girls screamed and cheered Olanna up. He picked up his bag and walked out in shame. When he got to the village, he went straight to Olanna's house to tell her father what he had witnessed. But her father had been a beneficiary of her newfound fortune, and so he simply told Chike to calculate how much he had spent thus far, and Olanna will refund him, since it seems she's no longer interested. But what about my broken heart? Your daughter humiliated me in front of the whole school. Is it fair? You know how much I love your daughter, he cried. But it's okay. You don't have to refund anything. Chike went back to his home in pain and sorrow. He skipped work for a few days as he even fell sick as a result of the incident. Olanna was too blinded by the life of luxury and comfort she was living that she didn't even feel bad for how she treated Chike. She continued to live her life as if nothing happened, alongside her friends, Fumi and Amanda. The frequent partying and lifestyle was beginning to affect her studies. She barely went to school, missed a lot of tests, many carryover courses, and a plummeting CGPA. But she didn't give a care in the world. After a year, Olanna completely abandoned her education and moved into the city center. She rented a home, bought a car, and was living the baby girl lifestyle. She continued to date Chief Agba and many other rich men in her circle, so far as they offered her bundles in exchange. Chief Agba, however, noticed that Olanna was going out with other men as well. He didn't like it, and so he warned Olanna to desist from it. I will deal with you if I ever find you with another man. You belong to me and me alone, he said. But Chief, what if I meet my future husband? Or are you expecting me to marry you and become a fourth wife? Olanna asked him. I can marry you and add you to my collection of wives, if that is what you want. But so far as you are with me, "You cannot be sleeping with other men," Chief said, his voice firm and mean. Olanna didn't think much to it. After all, na who dem catch be thief. And since Chief only liked to have intercourse with her while she was asleep or unconscious, she barely even feels anything. She decided to be more discreet in her dealings. Unknown to her, Chief Abba had used a jazz on her the last time they were together. She wouldn't have known anyways, as she was unconscious after passing out from the drink he gave her. He applied the jazz ointment on her private part while chanting some incantations. Olanna, oblivious of this, went out one night with one of her sponsors, a wealthy businessman called Chief Dele. After partying, they retired to the hotel room together. Immediately they got down to business and started having intercourse. Olanna felt a cold chill run down her spine. And then suddenly, it felt like her body was on fire. She got up and started screaming. She ran into the bathroom and opened up the shower to soothe the burning sensation, and it got worse. Olanna couldn't control it anymore. She flung the door open and ran outside naked into the streets, screaming, "Fire, oh, fire!" And just like that, Olanna ran mad. Meanwhile, back in the village, Chike married a beautiful nurse that works in the community general hospital, and they are expecting their first baby together. When news got to the village that Olanna was roaming the street of Asaba, mad, her father was devastated and rushed there to put her in a hospital. Chike felt really bad for Olanna because he truly loved and adored her. But he has healed and found love again, and that was all that mattered to him. Olanna was taken to different prayer houses and later admitted into a psychiatrist hospital. Her life shattered before her eyes, and she ate regrets for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is the end of my story.